This is breaking news, the kind of news that rewrites military textbooks, shatters long-held myths, and sends shockwaves through the corridors of power in Washington. What until yesterday sounded like a far-fetched Hollywood disaster movie has now become a reality so terrifying that the walls of the Pentagon and the White House are said to be shaking. Tonight, in the dark waters of the Persian Gulf, the myth of American naval invincibility collapsed. The pride of the United States Navy, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln, has been critically damaged and effectively neutralized. This was not an electrical fire. This was not a technical malfunction, and this was not an accident. Despite desperate attempts by U.S. officials to downplay the incident, independent sources, military analysts, and satellite imagery confirmed the unthinkable. The flagship of an American carrier strike group was struck in a coordinated Iranian missile attack and began to sink. At key while saltstyrka mest key, rang from hunter to prey. For decades, Washington treated aircraft carrier strike groups as an iron club, floating cities pushed to the shores of disobedient nations to dictate political will, protected by layers of air defense, radar, satellites, and confidence bordering on arrogance. U.S. military planners believed these carriers were untouchable. They believed war was a safari. America hunted. The rest of the world ran. But last night, the hunter became the prey. Iran did not wait for the first American strike. Tehran moved first, and with that decision, it announced to the world that the era of Western impunity is over. The perfect trap, Hormuz. The operation was executed with surgical precision and ruthless calculation. The U.S. carrier group entered the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime choke point where maneuvering a massive naval formation is nearly impossible. American admirals called it a show of strength. In reality, it was a trap. Tonight, grainy footage from the region paints a grim picture. The horizon of the Persian Gulf swallowed by black smoke, radio channels filled with panicked English voices, escort destroyers and cruisers circling a burning giant desperately trying to save what cannot be saved. The Abraham Lincoln listed heavily to starboard, a tilt that continued to worsen by the minute. A 100,000-ton warship, built with billions of taxpayer dollars, slowly transforming into twisted metal and a mass grave. This moment eclipses Pearl Harbor. Back then, America lost battleships. Tonight, it lost a symbol of global dominance. The world watched and understood. The king is naked, and the king is burning. How did this happen? This is the question military professionals around the world are now asking. A U.S. carrier strike group is not just a collection of ships. It is the densest, most layered air defense system on Earth. Cruisers of the Ticonderoga class, destroyers of the Arleigh Burke class, all equipped with the legendary Aegis combat system. In the sky, E-2 Hawkeye early warning aircraft. In theory, not even a bird should slip through unnoticed. Yet last night, this impenetrable shield turned into Swiss cheese. The Swarm and the Sting military analysts describe Iran's tactic as the Swarm and the Sting. Phase 1. The Swarm. Hundreds of low-cost kamikaze drones were launched simultaneously. Flying at extremely low altitudes, skimming wave crests, they appeared on American radar screens all at once. The Aegis system choked. Radars designed to track ballistic missiles and fighter jets simply could not process the flood of targets. U.S. ships responded with panic fire, launching SM-2 and SM-6 interceptors, each costing between $2 and $4 million, to destroy drones made of plastic and scooter engines costing $10,000. Tactical and economic absurdity. Guidance channels overloaded. Communications jammed. Electronic warfare systems, allegedly enhanced with foreign technology, blinded satellites and radar, and then, at the moment of maximum confusion. Phase 2, the Sting hypersonic missiles launched from Iran's coastline, the Fatah-2, a weapon Western media had mocked as propaganda. They stopped laughing. The missile travels at up to Mach 15, but speed is not the most terrifying part. It maneuvers. Unlike traditional ballistic weapons, Fatah-2 performs chaotic, evasive maneuvers in the atmosphere, changing altitude and trajectory unpredictably. American interceptors designed to calculate predictable paths had no solution. Operators inside the Lincoln's Combat Information Center watched radar symbols appear, disappear, reappear elsewhere. Computers failed. Errors stacked on errors. From detection to impact, less than 100 seconds. No time for alarms. No time for reaction. The Phalanx close-in weapon systems, the last line of defense, fired uselessly into empty space. You cannot stop a projectile traveling 5 kilometers per second. The collapse of a doctrine. This was not just the loss of a ship. It was the collapse of an entire military philosophy. The Pentagon spent trillions building expensive, elegant systems designed for wars of the past. Iran, with support from its allies, built something cheaper, smarter, and deadlier. In one night, the illusion of NATO naval supremacy evaporated. The 3 strikes. According to intelligence sources, Iran used the triple fracture tactic: 3 missiles, 3 targets, 3 fatal wounds. Strike 1. Firestorm. The first Fatah-2 slammed into the flight deck near the catapult section. The kinetic energy punched through armored steel and detonated inside the hangar deck. Fueled and armed F-35C fighters, prepared for strikes on Iran, exploded instantly. Aviation fuel flooded the deck, creating an inferno the size of 3 football fields. In seconds, the U.S. lost $3 billion worth of aircraft. 5th-generation stealth jets burned without ever taking off. The carrier ceased to be an airbase and became a drifting furnace. Strike 2. Decapitation. 4 seconds later, the second missile hit the island's superstructure, the brain of the ship, the bridge, flight control, radar, and electronic warfare stations. Admiral's command, gone. The carrier was blinded, deafened, and decapitated. Below deck, the crew was cut off from command. No orders, no coordination, panic. Strike 3. The death blow. The final missile struck below the waterline, near the engine rooms and reactor cooling systems. This was the kill shot. A breach, the size of a 5-story building, opened in the hull. Water flooded in by the millions of tons. Bulkheads buckled. The ship listed more than 15 degrees. The point of no return. Aircraft and equipment slid into the sea, crushing sailors. Fire above, water below. The Lincoln began to die. Washington in panic. While sailors burned in the Gulf, a different drama unfolded in Washington. Inside the White House Situation Room, sources describe an atmosphere of mourning. President Biden, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Satellite images of a sinking carrier lay on the table. They knew the truth. But telling it would mean catastrophe. Admitting Iran destroyed an American aircraft carrier would trigger market collapse, dollar freefall, and the end of superpower status. So another operation began. Operation The Big Lie. Major media outlets were given instructions. No missile strike, no attack, no war. Instead, technical incident, explosion, sabotage. Anything except the truth. The red button dilemma. By U.S. doctrine, the destruction of a carrier is casus belli, grounds for total war. But experts warn retaliation would be suicidal. Iran could shut the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices would explode to $300–400 per barrel. Global markets would crash within days. Iran still has thousands of missiles. Bases in Bahrain and Qatar would be next. And behind Iran stand Russia and China. A strike on Iran could ignite World War III. Washington is trapped. Strike and lose everything. Stay silent and admit weakness. Most likely, they choose humiliation. A world transformed. The world has already changed. The global south saw it. The Arab world saw it. China saw it. Russia saw it. Fear is gone. Aircraft carriers were America's scepter. And Iran snapped it over its knee in 10 minutes. A new era begins. Bases expelled. Petrodollar agreements collapse. Borders realign. This is the end of the unipolar world. The Abraham Lincoln lies on the seabed, and with it sank the illusion of eternal Western dominance.